Right, settle down. Today's supernatural operations briefing is frankly one of the stickiest situations I've ever been involved in, and I mean that quite literally. The Cornwall Jam Factory incident, or as the locals now call it, the Great Treacle Siege of '97. Yes, you heard me correctly. We had to move an entire plague of pixies from a jam factory in St. Ives. No, not exactly D-Day, but I assure you, no less chaotic. Now, before you laugh, and I can see you smirking, Jenkins, let me remind you, pixies or piskies in the Cornish tongue are a very real part of British folklore. Not the sweet little Disney darlings, no. These are West Country troublemakers, 10 to 15 centimetres tall, ears sharper than their manners, faster than a ferret down a trouser leg, and more mischievous than an entire class of public schoolboys locked in a tuck shop. In Cornish folklore, pixies are ancient, some say older than mankind, believed to be spirits of the land, guardians of sacred places, or the leftovers of the fairy folk before they, well, most of them bloody moved to Ireland. Normally they're just pranksters, leading travellers astray on the moors, stealing small shiny things, tying horses' manes into knots. Harmless enough, that is, until you annoy them. And what, gentlemen, is the quickest way to annoy a pixie? It's simple. Invade its territory and give it access to unlimited sugar. You see, folklore says pixies have a weakness for the sweet things, honey, treacle, cake crumbs, which is why in 1997, when the Treacle and Tartan Jam Factory expanded their warehouse right onto the edge of a pixie-haunted woodland, the local piskies saw it as an invitation, an all-you-can-eat buffet, and by God they took it. By the time we arrived, the place looked like the Somme, only stickier. There were entire vats of strawberry jam overturned, blueberry preserves smeared across the walls in what can only be described as pixie finger painting. The machinery was dismantled and reassembled into deranged contraptions that even Heath Robinson would have called, well, he would have said a bit excessive. And my personal favourite, well, that was the worker uniforms that were shredded and hung from the rafters like macabre bunting. The factory staff reported incessant giggling, unseen hands tugging at their aprons, and being pelted with stolen raspberries. Most disturbing of all, tiny footprints and handprints set into the jam samples. Proof, if it were needed, that the pixies had been cavorting about like toddlers at a birthday party, only with much sharper teeth. Now, you may wonder how you deal with a plague of supernatural sugar addicts. Guns are no good. Nets, laughable. You try netting a dozen hyperactive piskies, you'll just end up hogtied with your own rope. So we went back to the folklore. Cornish tradition says pixies value fairness and detest disrespect. Treat them well, they'll help you. Treat them poorly, and they'll turn your trousers inside out while you're still wearing them. So I attempted diplomacy. Their leader, and I swear I'm not making this up, was a flamboyant little devil we dubbed Jam Jar Jack. That's how he spoke. Loud voice, terrible temper, and a crown made from a golden jam lid. Imagine Napoleon if he were 6 inches tall and permanently covered in sticky blackcurrant. We struck a deal. I offered him a parcel of shiny baubles from a local antique shop, and most importantly, a sugar-rich woodland clearing prepared with honey, sugar cubes, and treacle. Jack and his lot they were bally over the moon. They abandoned the factory at once and moved into their new sticky paradise. Meanwhile, we fortified the factory with deterrents, thyme, marjoram, and blessed salt scattered around the vats. Pixies hate herbs. Makes them sneeze. Have something in common. By the following afternoon, production had resumed, though I do suspect they'll be finding pixie footprints in the jam vats for years. The foreman thanked us, though the workers remained somewhat sceptical. Some refused to believe in the pixies, even with jam dripping from their hats. Human nature, eh? Easier to believe in vandals than in folklore. Bizarre. But here's the moral, gentlemen. Cornish pixies are no joke. They may seem small, but they embody something larger. The old powers of the land. Ignore them and they'll ruin your harvest, or your jam factory. Respect them and they may just leave you alone or even help you. Which is why, every year since, the Treacle and Tartan Jam Factory has left a little tribute on the wood's edge. Shiny trinkets and sweets, and not a single pixie raid since. So next time you find yourself in Cornwall and your biscuit tin goes missing, don't blame the neighbours. Blame Jam Jar Jack and his merry band of sugar gremlins. And whatever you do, don't try to outwit a pixie. you'll lose and you'll be very, very sticky. Personally, I'd rather face a squadron of bloody Messerschmitts. At least they don't throw berries at your head, eh? Excuse me.